There is a certain kind of exhaustion that no one talks about. The exhaustion of constantly feeling like you need to prove yourself, not to the world, but to the people standing right in front of you. If you have ever caught yourself over-explaining a simple decision, repeating yourself until the other person finally seems satisfied, or feeling a deep anxiety when someone doesn't fully understand your intentions, this is not a character flaw. This is psychology speaking. And today, we are going to decode exactly what is happening beneath the surface. The first thing you need to understand is this: over-explaining is not a personality trait. It is a trauma response. And the difference between those two things is everything. When someone grows up in an environment where their emotions were constantly questioned, where saying, "I feel hurt," was met with, "You're too sensitive," where their decisions were always put on trial, the nervous system doesn't forget that. It adapts. It learns that silence is risky. That being misunderstood has consequences. So it develops a survival strategy: explain everything, justify everything, make sure there is no room left for misinterpretation. This is not weakness. This is a mind that learned to protect itself the only way it knew how. The psychological term for this is overjustification as a coping mechanism, and it lives deep in the body, not just the mind. It shows up as that tight feeling in your chest when someone goes quiet after you speak. That compulsive need to keep talking until you feel safe. And if no one ever told you this, what you are carrying is not who you are. It is what you were conditioned to become. But understanding where it comes from is only the beginning. Because even when you know the root, the pattern doesn't simply disappear. It runs quietly in the background, every conversation, every interaction, every moment where you feel the need to explain yourself before anyone even asks. And here is what makes this so psychologically complex. The fear of being misunderstood is not really about the other person. It is about what being misunderstood taught you to expect. Rejection. Conflict. Emotional withdrawal. Punishment. Somewhere along the way, your mind connected being unclear with being unsafe. And so it never fully relaxed into a conversation again. This is hypervigilance. And most people who live with it don't even recognize it by that name. You are not over-explaining because you are needy or desperate for validation. You are over-explaining because your nervous system is running a constant threat assessment, scanning every facial expression, every shift in tone, every moment of silence, asking one silent question on repeat: are we okay? Did I say something wrong? Do they still understand me? This is exhausting in a way that is almost impossible to articulate to someone who has never felt it. Because on the outside, you look fine. You look communicative, even thoughtful. But on the inside, you are managing an invisible weight, the psychological labor of trying to control how others perceive you, before perception even has a chance to form. And the painful consequence of never addressing this, is that the more you over-explain, the less people actually hear you. Your words lose their weight. Your presence starts to feel like a negotiation rather than a connection. That is not communication. That is survival dressed up as conversation. And this is where the psychology gets even deeper. Because what most people never realize is that over-explaining is not just a fear response. It is a form of people-pleasing. And people-pleasing is not kindness, it is a boundary that was never allowed to exist in the first place. Think about it carefully. When you over-explain your choices to someone, why you said no, why you need space, why you made a certain decision, you are unconsciously asking for their permission to feel the way you feel. You are taking something that belongs entirely to you, and placing it in someone else's hands for approval. That is not connection. That is self-abandonment disguised as communication. Psychologically, this pattern forms when a person grows up in environments where their autonomy was conditional. Where love and acceptance were only available after an explanation was given and approved. So the nervous system internalized a painful belief that your choices are only valid once someone else validates them. And here is what that costs you over time. You begin to shrink. Not all at once, but slowly, conversation by conversation, justification by justification. You start editing yourself before you even speak. You preemptively defend decisions that required no defense. You collapse your own boundaries before anyone even approaches them. This is the hidden violence of people-pleasing. It doesn't look like suffering from the outside. But internally, you are constantly at war, between what you genuinely feel, and what you believe others need to hear in order to accept you. The person who over-explains is rarely asking for attention. They are asking for something far more profound. They are asking to finally feel safe enough to simply exist, without having to justify that existence to anyone. But here is the truth that changes everything. The safety you have been searching for in other people's understanding, it was never theirs to give you. It was always yours to build. This is the psychological shift that separates those who heal from those who remain trapped in the cycle. It is not about becoming cold. It is not about shutting people out or communicating less. It is about something far more quiet and far more powerful. It is about returning to yourself. When you begin to understand that you do not owe anyone an explanation for your emotions, your boundaries, your choices, or your silence, something shifts at a cellular level. The anxiety that once lived in every conversation begins to lose its grip. You stop performing clarity for others and start living it for yourself. This is what psychologists refer to as internal validation. The slow, deliberate process of becoming your own witness. Of trusting that your perception of your own experience is enough, even when no one else confirms it. And it begins with one small but radical act. The next time you feel that familiar pull to over-explain, pause. Breathe. And ask yourself one question: am I saying this because it adds something meaningful, or am I saying this because silence feels dangerous? That pause is not avoidance. That pause is consciousness. It is the moment your nervous system begins to learn a new language, one where your worth is not measured by how well you are understood, but by how deeply you understand yourself. You are not too much. You never were. You were simply never given permission to be enough. Consider this your permission.